the other one. We'll see if we get there next week. But Genesis chapter 12, starting in verse 1. And the Lord said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto the land that I will show thee. And I will make of thee a great nation, and will bless thee, make thy name great. Thou shalt be a blessing, and I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curse thee. Shall all families of the earth be blessed. And Abram departed as the Lord spoke unto him, and Lot went with Abram, was 75 old, departed from Haran. And Abram took Sarah his wife, Lot his brother's son, all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten Haran. They went forth to go unto the land of Canaan, and unto the land of Canaan they came. Here Lot made a decision to go with his uncle, which was a good thing. Because, well, Abram wasn't saved at this time, but I think it's neat that, I looked at what I was looking at is how do we know to make decisions and all. And here, Abram, the Lord actually personally said, hey, it's time for you to go. And Abram followed. And I wondered, got to wonder, when he talked to his family, he said, hey, I'm leaving. It's not like now. We leave. Paul and Trish left here years ago and went to Michigan. We see them once or twice, 3 times a year or more. We hear from them. We call them. We don't write letters like we used to. But they made a decision because God had called them. Abram here was called. And in those days, he didn't know he could ever see that person again. So it's hard. I know I've had family members that have moved. And over, years ago, talked about got a grandmother that's from Indiana and moved to Kentucky. And how do you make those decisions? Rely on God. That's the biggest part of it. Really pray a lot about it. So here, Lot has went with Abram into the land of Canaan. Chapter 13, and in verse 1, Abram went up out of Egypt, and he and his wife and all had, and Lot with him, unto the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle and silver and in gold, and he went on his journey from the south even to Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, and between Bethel and Ai, unto a place of the altar which he had made there at the first. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. And Lot also which went with Abram, had flocks and herds, and the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their substance was great, so they could not dwell together. There was a strife between the herdsmen of Abram's cattle, herdmen of Lot's cattle, and the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelt then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray, between me and thee, and between my brethren and thy herdmen, for we are brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take left hand, then I will go to the right. Or if thou depart to the right hand, I will go to the left. Then Lot lifted up his eyes, and behold, all the plain of Jordan, that it was well watered, even where were before the Lord, even everywhere before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest to Zor, unto Zor. Then Lot chose him all the plains of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east. That they separated themselves one from another. Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan. Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. Here, Dad was preaching, I believe it was Wednesday night, or no, it was Sunday, because it was who will carry on the work after we're gone. Because he talked about how Abraham, at that time, the Lord was going to Sodom to destroy it. But here Lot lifted up his eyes, and he's looking towards Sodom and Gomorrah. The plains were well watered. He made decisions with his eyes. How often do we make with our eyes? He looked and he just said, I'm going that way. And he had a lot of stuff too. In the message that Dad had preached and getting into this, I'd already was thinking about it and was going this way when he preached that message. But it was like, he had a lot of stuff too. I didn't realize how much he had. And he was blessed because of Abram. And as he went, he kept getting, here we'll see, and Lot had a lot of servants too. And in verse 12, he said he just kept getting closer to Sodom. He pitched his tent toward Sodom. And I wonder if that's where he was, he had herds, may have been selling some of those, and, the meat or whatever he was doing, he was getting profit from Sodom. But then when you go over to chapter 14, and verse 10, 14 verse 10, here there was a king that came down, the kings and all come down to Sodom and Gomorrah, destroyed a bunch of, took them captive. Abraham had went and got his family and went and got them all back. And here in chapter 14, verse 10, and the vale of Siddim fallen was full of slime pit, and the king of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. They took all the goods, Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their vegetables, and went their way. They took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. Here, I believe in this point, because Lot has been taken out of Sodom. He's moved now. He's now living in Sodom. Everything he owns is Sodom. His life is in Sodom and Gomorrah. I kind of look at this and thought, the Lord lets us make some crazy decisions, dumb decisions without him. And then he taps us on the shoulder and says, hey, you need to come on out. Here, Lot is given the choice. Here, they've come in, they've taken him captive, they've taken him out of Sodom. He knows for a fact he's living in a wicked city. He's lived with Abram for a long time. I don't know how, when he started living with him, but I just know that Abram was a moral man before he was saved, and he was a very moral man after the fact, and God had continued to bless him. I think he knew that I think Lot knew that Abraham was going to be blessed because of the things around him and the things that were happening. So what happened here in verse 16, here, this is after Abram went down and got everybody and brought them back. And verse 16, he brought back all the goods, also brought back again his brother Lot and his goods, the women also of the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of the, try that one, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Javel, which is the king of Dale. And I'm just going to stop right there. I should have got into more detail on how many people that Abram took, but it wasn't very many compared to all the kings, their multiple armies that had went away and took them. Here, he brings back everything they had got. And this is where I think is kind of neat, because I think, well, that's just where I think Lot was, and all those people were shown that God is in control and you ought to be serving him and not doing the evil you're doing. Because in verse 18, and Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God, that he blessed him and said, Blessed is Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemy unto thy hand. And he gave him tithes of all. I'll stop right there. I think right here, I believe when Melchizedek come out, they had church service. I think he was, he come out to show, for me, it's a witness to Lot and all these people that, hey, God has done this. It's not under Abram's power. This is under God's power. This is why this is done, the reason why it was done. I think that's the one reason why things happened a lot, to show him, hey, you need to get out of here. Continue down. And here in verse 21, and the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods for thyself. And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have left up my hand unto the Lord, the Most High God, the possessors of heaven and earth, that I will not take from thine even a latch, and that I will not take any that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich, save only that which the young men have eaten, the portions of the men which with me. Aner, Eshcol, and Nimrod, let them take their portion. So Abram said, no, I don't want anything, God. I didn't, what I get, I want from God. I don't want it from you. I don't want to make it that I went out and I done this for the possession. I believe he went out because of Lot. He went out because of his nephew, that he wanted to bring him back. And yet, they didn't even see it. They didn't want to see it, that God was in control of this. And it's kind of neat because they had these witnesses. I think that's what happens to us when we've made bad decisions. God taps us on the shoulders and said, "Hey, come on back." But yet sometimes we don't listen. But then when you go to chapter 19, and we'll start in verse 1. And there came two angels, Sodom at evening. Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to, and he bowed himself with his face towards the ground, and he said, "Behold, now, my Lord, turn in, I pray unto your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, shall rise early, go your ways." And they said, "Nay, but we will abide in the street all night." Pressed unto them greatly, and they turned unto him, entered into the house, made them a feast, and did break unleavened bread, and they ate, they did eat. I think it's kind of strange. No, I don't think. When these two angels came to Sodom, exactly, because he had, and I think this little passage says the whole lot, because he's like, "Look, I'm going to take them into my house where I know it's safe. This city is so wicked, they don't need to be out here." I don't know. It's like I don't know. I've got a lot of thoughts on that, but it's like, what would you do if God came to visit your house? Is there things you're ashamed of? Have things there that you shouldn't have? But God's already there. Saved. He's already in your heart. There in whatever you do, whatever you see, He's right there. He's with us all the time. But here, Lot knew these angels exactly. He didn't know why they were there, but he knew they were of God, because he recognized who they were. And yet the people there had no idea who they were. The decisions that Lot had made had allowed him to enter, and being in the gate wasn't me sitting there at the gate. He was a ruler. He was a leader. And that's where they done a lot of business, was in the gates of those cities. But then, continuing here in verse 12 and 14, the angels told them, "Hey, you've got to get out of here. We're going to destroy this city." And go down to verse 15. Okay, and Lot, verse 12, sorry about that. And the men said unto Lot, hast thou here any thy sons-in-law and thy sons and thy daughters, whosoever thou hast in the city, bring them out of this place, for we will destroy this place, because of the cry of them wax great unto the face of the Lord. The Lord hath sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he, as one mocked to his sons-in-laws. So here, Lot's life and the decisions he had made in following and going towards Sodom and Gomorrah, they didn't believe in sons. And it was asked after service Sunday, how many kids did Lot have? When did he, we don't know when he got married, when he had all these kids. But also, he had much wealth. He had servants, and he went and left Lot. Left Abram in the beginning, because his herdsmen, Abram's herdsmen, were fighting because they needed more pastures. You're in our way, And I wonder how many people Lot took into Sodom with him. And I thought, and then I take that back to when Abraham, when God was talking to Abram and said, he will tell his family that he looked and when Abram started at 50, you think that how many of Lot's servants were influenced also by Abraham, his lifestyle, what he believed, and how many of them had seen how God had blessed him. And I think he was hoping that there was many that had listened to what was going on. So it wasn't just his family, because here it says, "Hast thou any besides thy sons and thy daughters?" So he's like, go talk to any. They would have allowed him to go talk to anybody. But yet his witness, decisions he made over the years, had destroyed himself. He had lost his witness. And then verse 15, and when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and 2 daughters, which are here, lest ye be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, men laid hold on his hands, the hands of his wife, and upon his 2 daughters, and the Lord being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth and set him without the city. And it came to pass that when they had brought them forth abroad, they said, Escape for thy life, look not behind thee, neither stay thou in the plains, escape to the mountains, lest ye be consumed. I think it's pretty neat. God's already warned Lot multiple times, get out of here, even before the angels showed up, I believe. But in verse 16, the Lord being merciful unto him, he said, he knew Lot was one of his. So he took him out because, like they said, if you linger here, you're going to be destroyed with the iniquity of this city. So the angels told him, says, you need to go to the mountain. And in verse 27, well, let's see. In verse 18, and Lot said unto them, Well, not so. Behold, now thy servant hath found grace in thy sight. Thou hast magnified that thy mercy, which thou hast shown unto me, saved my life, and I not escaped into the mountain. I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me, and I die. Behold, now the city here to flee unto, it is a little one. Oh, let me escape there. I like this. It's in parentheses. It said, it is not a little one. And my soul shall be saved. And he said unto them, See, I have accepted thee. Consider this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city for which thou hast spoken. So here he wants to go to, actually it ends up being Zor, but he wants to go, he wants to escape to a city, another decision he's making without considering what God has said. And it's not a little city. I was thinking, here he came from a wilderness. He went with Abram and he had gained all this stuff. And now he's leaving Sodom by himself with his wife and 2 kids. I wonder how many servants was in the house that said, we're not going. Everything he had was left back in Sodom. All his riches were gone. So now he's starting out. He had to go to the mountains with nothing. But you think about it, whenever you do what God says to do, when He says to do it His way, there'd have been plenty in that for him if he'd have just followed what God wanted to say. But Lot didn't want to go to the mountain. He wanted to go somewhere else. Lost my place. Where I was going. Here, the Lord here, as he entered, verse 23, the sun was rising on the earth when Lot entered Zoar, and the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven, overthrowed those cities, all the plain, all the inhabitants of the city, that which grew upon the ground, grew on the ground. But his wife looked back from behind him and came a pillar of salt. So here they're in Zoar, and God's destroying it. Wife looks and he loses his wife too, because everything he had was all back there. I think here in verse 27, 28, I think this is neat. The angels told Lot not to look, and Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before the Lord. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the plains and behind. And lo, the smoke of the country went up as smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, God destroyed the cities of the plains. God remembered Abram, and Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities which Lot dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains, daughters, and he feared to dwell in Zoar, dwelt in caves, he and his two daughters. I think it's neat. Lot was told, don't look. Abraham did. Because I think, and I look at what's going on around me, our nation, our world, and I see people that I love that are going the wrong way. But Abram looked. I know he grieved because he was wondering about Lot and what happened. And it bothered him. I know it did. That's why he asked Jesus, can you just save the city for them? Hoping that he could, that he would. But Lot hadn't stood. Lot had made a lot of wrong decisions. So they said no. But God remembered Moses. God remembered Abraham. And he took Lot out because of Abraham. Because Abraham, he asked, can you get them out? And Lot wasn't. And then Lot goes and has to dwell in the mountain. But I think, that's not just the end of the Lot right there. I think it's kind of neat when you go into Deuteronomy chapter 2. Deuteronomy chapter 2. That God remembered Lot. Deuteronomy 2, verse 7. Here they're dividing up the land. God told them wherever what to do. For the Lord thy God hath blessed thee in all the works of thy hand, knoweth thy walking through this great wilderness these 40 years. The Lord thy God hath been with thee, and thou lack nothing. And when ye pass by, for thy brethren, the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir, through thy through the way of the plain of Ethan. I'm sorry about all these names. He will return and pass by the wilderness of Moab. This is Esau's family. And the Lord said unto him, distress not the Moabites, neither contend with them in battle, for I will not give thee their land for a possession, because I have given Ar unto the children of Lot for possession. He remembered Lot because of Abram. I think, even though he made a lot of bad decisions, God still gave him a portion, Canaan, or a possession. He just leave them alone. I hope this has been a blessing to you. It has been to me to study, realize some of my decisions that I've made are my fault. Things in my life, and how much do we listen? And if the Lord wills, I'll go more into Joseph and Mary, on decisions they were making and why they made it. And we just need to follow God, make decisions according to what God wants us. Nowadays, I think today it's harder because this world is so wicked. I just want to stay away from it. I need help there. Hopefully it's been a blessing to you. Close with a word of prayer. Tim, can you dismiss us?